1. All right, ladies, this episode is for you. You ready to break that glass ceiling, take your business or your career to a whole new level? And we got a ball of fire ready for you on this episode. Let's get this one started. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real-life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Boss!
You tired of hitting a wall in your career and struggling to break through that glass ceiling? Our guest today knows what it takes more than just skills to become a true leader and succeed in life and work. She's an expert in mindset transformation and has helped countless women and men around the world become the powerhouse leaders they were meant to be. In this episode, she's going to share her journey from being fired at her 25-year corporate career to becoming a successful author, speaker, and coach. So if you're ready to shed your own corporate bitch and unlock your true potential, then stay tuned. Now, let's welcome to the show, Miss Bernadette Boas. Bernadette, the party can begin. We brought you that ball of fire. Thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me. This is a blast already.
That's right. That's right. We're going to have some fun. All right, I want to start off with probably the biggest failure or felt like a failure in your life, which was you got fired. 25-year career. You thought you had security. Everything's good the way it's going. And then boom. Tell me about that.
Yes, it was very late 2007. And you know, that Monday after Thanksgiving when you're kind of dragging yourself into into work. I actually was very excited. I had some great programs that were closing out for the year and I was getting ready for 2008 and I was pumped and got into work real early and found myself by about 8:00 a.m. standing in the middle of the parking lot with a pink slip in my hand and a single box of my 25-year career, fired by my mentor of 12 years.
That sucks.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And I kind of stood there like, yeah, this sucks. And I was staring back at the building going like, why and how? And I was pissed. I was bitter. I was angry. I was upset. But there was a small part of me, a little hole that kind of was excited and said to myself, geez, what now? Like not damn, what now? But more like, geez, what now? And yet at the same time, the gentleman who fired me, I revered and I regarded and I respected for the 12, 14 years we worked together. So I also, in that second, also knew that I could get pissed and I could like start blaming and deflecting, but I knew that he just didn't make that decision in a whim. And therefore I had to go and figure out exactly why it was that I was standing in the middle of that parking lot, losing everything, losing my identity, losing my income, losing all of it. So I went on what I call my excavation of my soul journey. And whether you are 17 or you're 70, you should always be asking yourself the really deep questions about who you are, who you want to be, who you don't want to be. So I did. I went on, this journey for about a year and a half when I all of a sudden came face to face with that bitch in the mirror. I just all of a sudden was recounting like a film, all the different encounters and experiences and interactions I've had with people throughout my career, which was a very successful one on paper. But yet I all of a sudden came across this woman who I didn't even recognize. I mean, she was nasty and mean and curt and abrasive. And she was just downright bitchy and a corporate tyrant. And I thought, that's not who I am. And that's not who I want to be.
Let me ask you about that because that that choice that you made from going into like a depressive state, pointing fingers, making the world the problem and you the victim, that's something that people can easily spiral into. And you're standing here, you're telling me, look, I'm looking at myself in the mirror and I'm like, no, this is not who I'm not a victim here. This is an opportunity. How do you get to that mindset? Because 80% of what we do in life is putting ourselves in that right focus, right? Putting ourselves in that mindset where this is an opportunity, not a problem, even though they kind of are one and the same, but it's how we look at it that makes a difference. How did you, standing in the parking lot, just pummeled, black eyes and defeated essentially, how do you switch your mindset to that?
Well, I think I had been working on it from a very young age. My father, I'm one of 12 children, and I'm eighth of the lot. And my father always carried around a journal, and he would always be writing in it. A lot of it had to do with like budget and where to go to the best, restaurant that would take 12 kids with them. but overall, he would also be making notes about what was going on in his head and heart. And I happened to really be drawn to that. And so he taught me from a very young age to journal. And I think my journaling, unlike a diary or something else, my journaling is just purging out in blank pages everything that I was feeling, experiencing, going through, without editing, without perfecting it, without trying to make it a story that would be attractive to somebody else. It was just really to kind of release all that angst and all that happiness and joy, but all of it out. So then I could open up space within myself to kind of, bring in more. So I had always been working on shifting, what I call shifting from bitch to rich. I was always working on trying to shift out of a mindset of fear and insecurity and negativity. And because I always saw how much you attracted into your life good things when you were in a positive state of mind. But I lost it for a good couple decades when I decided to make this transition to be a bitch. But then when all of a sudden I was faced with the opportunity to say, okay, so who do you really want to be? And you said you have 17-year-olds, out there. And I would say, whoever you are, you really should be asking yourself on a regular basis, who is it I want to be? And who am I? But where's the gap? And then what can I do? And what people, places, and things can I kind of bring into my universe to really work on working my way toward, being the person I truly want to be.
Let's do some mental work there, because I find that it's always difficult for me personally to like see myself a certain way in 10 years, 20 years, like this end game goal, right? Like I have a hard time picturing myself there. But I can picture smaller goals. I can picture myself, I don't know, running a particular marathon or like standing on a stage and giving a commencement speech or something that's really near in the future. And I've noticed that in my life, when I can visualize that, I find that I make my way towards it and it becomes a reality. To me, that is the epitome of, the whole secret, the whole vibrations and getting your mind right. But I think we struggle oftentimes because the goals that we want to set for ourselves are the big, hairy, audacious goals, and we don't even believe that they're capable. Right. And yet here we are trying to do that. You're in the coaching space now. You're helping others kind of transform that mindset and get them in that going forward mentality. So walk me through how you became a coach and how you shifted your mindset to kind of conquer some of these goals.
Right. Well, first to how I became a coach was just the work that I did on myself was so transformative that people started asking me like, how, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you were such a nasty, negative, kind of abrasive individual. And, you've just softened up. I mean, I was actually asked if I had a facelift by a couple of old employees who ran into me after like 2 or 3 years. And they're like, God, did you get some work done? I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, you just look like 10, 15 years younger. And I said to them, it's what happens when you shed your bitch. The bitches in my world are your fears, insecurities, doubts, and negativities. And your riches are your talents and your skills and all those things you love about yourself. So I decided that I needed to wrap up this journey, this experience, this transformation I was going through, because I was getting so many people to asking me, how can I change? How can I, kind of shed my bitches so I can really attract what it is I want, small goals or big goals. So that's how I became really a coach. And I first started when I left corporate. I was such a skilled and expert consultant, and I had been, majority of my my career, though I did, raise up to be a C-level executive. So I did start with consulting small businesses, entrepreneurs, but then the coaching just started taking over. People wanting to work on their mindset, not necessarily their skill set. And so that's how I kind of segued into really focusing on helping people transform their whole selves. So then when it comes to goals, I'm very much like you. I need it to be short term. I need those small, quick wins, because that's what builds you up. That's what keeps you, energetic and focused and confident that, you know what, I can achieve the big things, but I'm going to work on the small things as I'm working my way to that end goal. So I always was a dreamer. So I always had big goals out there. And even my clients, they say they have big goals, but then I'm like, you know what? And girls and women can relate to this. It's like being on going on a diet. You say that you'll do it for, in the next 12 months, I want to lose 25 pounds, but then it's 12 months away. So then you're like, okay, I'm not going to have to start right now, because I still have 10 months. I still have 6 months. I still have 3 months. And the next thing you know, the year's gone. So what I always tell individuals is have your big goal, be that dreamer. Nothing is better, whether you're especially as you're 17 to 60. Continue dreaming, continue having those, aspirations, but then break them down into bite-sized goals that, as you are taking action and as you're achieving them, they are fueling you with more, energy and more excitement and more confidence to continue working on those bigger goals. So yeah, but take them down to bite size. And when I even say that, 3-month goals, what do you want to accomplish 3 months from now? I actually have my business clients take their year goal down to their quarters, which is 3 months, down to their month, down to their week, and then that week down to their day. Because if they could just focus on what they have to accomplish today, even though they're, targeting the week, the month, the year, they feel as if they're accomplishing things, and it doesn't feel so damn heavy.
Yeah, that the breaking it down to the ridiculous is one of the things that my buddy Eric says all the time. Break it down to the ridiculous, and it makes a lot more sense, because you're just conquering that one day thing.
Right.
There's a book called The One Thing that also focuses on the same types of thought process.
Mm-hmm.
There's only 24 hours in a day, and if you can focus your attention on the things that are going to move you forward,
Right.
those are the things that are the most important in your day. And it doesn't have to be all the other things that will come up in your day that happen naturally over life, because you're going to get that one thing taken care of, and you're progressively moving forward over time. Yeah. So let's talk about some of these mindset blocks that happen, right? Because I feel like oftentimes people don't know that they're blocking themselves from doing these things. It could be the way they were raised. It could be their day-to-day routines. A lot of these things that they have as beliefs tend to be limiting beliefs from time to time. Mm-hmm. So what do you do to help clients identify and confront some of those mindset blocks, some of those things that are preventing them from moving forward? Because oftentimes it ain't other things, it's just you.
Well, it's only you. I mean, I will just tell you, yes, there's some external factors, holding you back potentially, but you can look at, thousands and thousands of examples of those individuals who have succeeded through the worst type of situations. So it is all about your mindset. What I will typically do, and again, I experienced this myself, I have them do like an inventory of their life. And because I was struggling, I was in my mid to late 40s, and I was struggling to really understand why well, let me finish. Why I never felt like I fit in, why I felt like I was always an outsider. And I just couldn't put my finger on it. I mean, yes, I was popular and I had my friends and I had obviously a successful career, but I just never felt grounded in wherever I was. And so I just decided through my excavation of my soul journey, I'm going to go back to the earliest memory I have and move forward and use my journals to just scribble, not think about it, just scribble, 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 and take an inventory of all of those potential encounters, events, experiences that shaped me. Well, I discovered that I mentioned I'm one of 12 kids. I have 6 brothers, 5 sisters, and I was the milkman's daughter. Now, for those who may not understand that, that means I didn't look, smell, taste, sound, anything like my brothers and sisters. So here was 11 around me, and I was the odd one out. So I was the milkman's daughter, the postman's daughter, any daughter but my family's, to the point where everybody would tease me about it. Parents, friends, my siblings. And by the time I was 9 or 10, it was so deeply ingrained that I was adopted, that I wasn't part of the family, that I was an outsider, that I went to my mother bawling my eyes out because I had just been teased out in the playground or whatever. And she just laughed when I brought it up to her. She's like, of course you are, and embrace the fact that you're very unique and you stand out and you're one in a million, so forth and so on. But of course you're a Boas. Now, of course, I grew into to look like my brothers and sisters as I got into my 20s. But, so it was evident that, yes, I was. But that embedded itself so deeply within me that for 45 years, I just always had these limiting beliefs about my not fitting in and belonging and being good enough or loved enough. And when I faced it and when I confronted it and I really looked at it, I just started laughing. I laughed at the fact that I spent 45 years living in that space, but I also laughed at how ridiculous it was. So do you know the acronym for fear that people use?
Remind me.
False evidence becoming real. False evidence becoming real is what fear is. And that's what hit me that day was, oh my God, here I had this fear and insecurity and limiting belief that proved itself to be completely wrong and completely not justified that I had this fear. And so majority of us, whatever limiting beliefs we are, they're fears, first off. Everything you're feeling is either fear or love. And so if you have a limiting belief or insecurity, it's fear of something. So you figure out what that something is. But to find that out, sometimes you have to go back. Where did it come from? Was it something that was said? I was assaulted in my freshman year of college. And it wasn't as to the extreme of some really bad things, but it was enough to where it stayed with me for decades and very much affected my relationships, especially my intimate relationships. And so until I confronted that and I really put it in its place and I understood that it wasn't me, it was them, then I was able to let it go. So a big tip I would have is take an inventory of all of the fears, insecurities, doubts, and negativities you feel about yourself, all those bitches. And then in the next column, put that in one column. In the next column, list out the evidence you have that those things are not true. So, me not fitting in. Well, I had tons of friends. I was an MVP athlete. I, had a big family who absolutely adores one another, and I had a great career and mentors and people that really supported me. So how is it I feel like I don't fit in when I have all this evidence telling me otherwise? And then you kind of, in the third column, you can write the different story you tell yourself. Instead of telling yourself that limiting belief, you tell yourself, I belong. I am part of the team. I am, wonderful and super and brilliant and smart and beautiful. And you start really just like you did those limiting beliefs, you start telling yourself those great mantras and those great stories time and time again, and you'll believe them.
Yeah, and I want to go back to your journaling because I think that's one of those things where you get to mind dump a lot of stuff. Your acronym for fear, I love that one. I have heard it in the past. The other one I like is focus. Follow one course until successful, and that's kind of a pathway for me that's been weird when it comes to the entrepreneurial path, because I can bounce around like everybody else sees with those shiny objects all the time, and having that focus, to follow this one course until successful makes a huge difference.
Yes.
The journaling for me even has become systematic. Almost on my journal, I'm like, how much revenue was brought in today, how many offers did I make, because that's the way you make money, by providing offers for your services. And then I have my 4 goals, and I literally write them, the 4 out, and in paragraph 4, and I just kind of dump what did I do to progress forward in that aspect. And it's really, to me, it helps me kind of release a day. There's no structure or story or format, but it allows me to say, did I do something in this category that I said I'm trying to progress in? And if I did, what was it? And can I improve on it? And it's just documented. If you read it, it'd be probably boring because I'm saying the same things a lot over and over again. But for me, it's how I release that every single day. Right. And I think those are great ways to get yourself telling yourself that new story, that progression that you're talking about, where you're shying away from the limiting beliefs and focusing your attention more on who is it that you want to be and how are you becoming that. What are some other tips that people can use to kind of build confidence and become self-aware, whether it's in their own business or in a workplace?
Well, you said it, becoming self-aware. I mean, becoming self-aware, because so many of us just kind of operate like a robot. We just kind of wake up in the morning and we just go. And we really never kind of take a look around and really appreciate, where we are and what we're doing right now. And so you may be familiar with the Power of Now from Eckhart Tolle.
Mm-hmm.
And it talks about, which I didn't get. I read the book like twice and I was like, I don't understand. Because I was so far away from living in the present, living now. And what I mean by that is, the next time you're having a conversation with someone, even me right now, or, afterwards, and anyone listening or watching, is really think about how much of what was said and what was encountered and experienced with that interaction with that one or group of people, did you really feel? Did you really experience? Did you really hear the words and take in exactly, what was going on around you? Because 9 out of 10 of us are so distracted with not only the noise and the stimulation around us, but also, what I have to do after this conversation. What do I have to do, before the end of the day? What do I have to prepare for tomorrow? And we're giving up so much time in our lives of not really even being able to say, wow, what did I do last month? Like, because it just goes. So another big one would be if you could start studying even now. And for those young people, even seasoned, I consider seniors like myself seasoned. And I'm well seasoned, but but just really focus on getting to know you and really appreciating the experience you're having at this very, very moment in time, and try to practice. Call it meditation, call it whatever, because I do meditate, but I'm not really good at it. But what I do is I stop myself and I focus on my breathing, even while I'm talking. And I slow myself down to really ensure that I am present right here, right now, and not lost out in the 9,000 things that are trying to distract us. So I would say, get to know yourself, really ask yourself the questions: who am I? Who do I want to be? Where's the gap? But at the same time, practice really being present and really being, in the moment. So you then appreciate it. And I've been doing this for about 6 months hard. And I have to say to anybody, it slows down time. It really slows down time. You know how we always say, oh my God, the day, where to go, or the month, or the week, or the year. And I have to say, this year has slowed down so much for me because of the fact that I am staying very conscious and present in whatever it is that I'm doing. And I don't do it perfectly in any, respect, but at the same time, when I do and where I do, it slows everything down because you're just appreciating where you are right now.
I heard somebody on TikTok talking about how life is nothing more than a series of snapshots. It's like watching a movie on film. Like, as long as the film is moving forward, it looks like life is a motion picture, but in all reality, it's just a snippet in time that we're paying attention to. And I like how you are back to the focus, right? Focus on the now. This is the only moment that you actually have.
Right.
Now, future you will thank you for what you do in this moment right now, but this is the only one you actually have. So I like that concept too. How it will slow down your day because you're focusing on what is here. Sometimes it's not work and it's not, physical activity. Sometimes it's just being in the moment with the people that you're around and listening to the conversation and loving your kids or whatever it is. But it's that moment right there. That's the reason why you're doing almost everything else that you're doing in your life, is to enjoy those moments. You can't take them with you. I had my grandma actually passed away yesterday. She was in her mid 90s. But when somebody passes away like that, they've had a full life. It really makes me think a lot about things like this, right? Where this is your moment. This is what you got. It's the only one you have. So hold on to it and take it with you. Now you've been helping a lot of people, but mostly I like how you're focused on helping women benefit from this mindset transformation. If you wanted to speak to the women out there to kind of get them to realign themselves to achieve their goals, what message would you have for them?
Well, what message I would have is you have to put yourself first. So women feel as if putting themselves first is being selfish when they're there for their family and their friends and their children and the community and the school. And you absolutely have to put yourself first. And a justification for that, which is so simple, is if you've ever been on a plane, they'll always tell you, put the mask on yourself first before helping anyone else. And the reason is you can't be your full potential. You can't be as complete as you need and deserve to be and be the person that you are unless you take care of yourself first, and then you could take care of everyone else around you. And so it's such a simple analogy that a lot of speakers and coaches and consultants they use it, but the reason why they use it is it's so simple. Take care of yourself first before helping others, because the people around you will thrive even more than they are by you kind of like always taking care of them. Take care of yourself first, modeling the fact that you take care of yourself, and they'll reflect on the same. They'll do the same thing. So I would, that would be a big one for me.
Well, Bernadette, you've been awesome today, sharing so much great advice. And I love how practical it is. It's just things that you can do every single day to kind of get yourself in the right mindset. Because at the end of the day, when you're in the right mindset, you're going to take action, and that action is going to put you in the direction that you want to go in. If people want to reach out with you, they want to know more about Ball of Fire coaching, how could they do that?
They can go to balloffirecoaching.com. Certainly there. They can also go to my Instagram. Yep. Ball of Fire Bernadette. And then, those two are the best places. And then of course, from a corporate perspective or entrepreneurs, actually, I'm on LinkedIn at Bernadette Boas.
Perfect. And then you have a book, right? Tell me a little bit about the book.
Yes, I have a book and a podcast of the same name. It's Shedding the Corporate Bitch. And it is my story of my kind of my transformation. And I'm working on the follow-up because I want to give the how-to, which is what everybody's been asking for ever since.
All right, one more question because it's a little selfish on my side, but it's how we tend to grow. I told you at the beginning that we're going to do a 30-minute episode, long form piece of content, so we could chop it up into short pieces for social media. So my question is, what was your experience like creating long form content with the Business Bros?
Oh, it was awesome. It was so much fun from the minute you jumped on and the intro started playing. I was like all pumped. So no, it's been great. And it was a lively conversation and very directed and pointed. And I love giving value. So it was awesome.
Well, thank you very much. All right, ladies and gents, look, at the end of the day, sometimes we just need a little push. We need a little help on the accountability side to get us to where we want to go. Sometimes we think our mind is right and we just are clouded by our own visions and judgments and the way we were raised, all kinds of different things that can stop us. But Bernadette's out here telling you, look, we can make a change, and she's here to help. So make sure you guys check it out, balloffirecoaching.com, balloffirecoaching.com. Bernadette, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast, but not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz